guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ellie Jane. I like to make lifestyle videos, kind of like everything, vlogs, cooking. But today I'm going to be talking about how to save time in the kitchen. I have never cooked so much until I moved out, and I've been fortunate enough that my parents were cooking for me or my grandpa up until I was plant-based. And now for the most part, with the help of my partner, I do the cooking. I do actually really love cooking. The food tastes so much better when you know what actually went into it, the love that you put into it. But the only thing that I don't like sometimes is doing the repetitive things over and over and over. So all of these foods here are things that I eat on a regular basis, if not daily, and I love learning new shortcuts when it comes to cooking. Things that just make it easier to put your meal together. These are some tips and tricks that I've learned from other people or just from myself being in the kitchen. These tips have helped cut down my food prep time significantly. Therefore, I'm saving more time in the day to do other things. And not only that, these tricks have also helped me from putting food in the compost bin and letting them go to waste. But before we get into that, I did notice that half of my viewers are subscribed to my channel. So if you want to show some love and support, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification below if you're enjoying my content. And without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that we like to prep are our nuts for breakfast. We used to hand chop them whenever we would prep them, and it was so time consuming every single morning just hand chopping nuts. But recently we tried putting it in our food processor so that we can blend a bunch of them at once. So first one we did was almonds, and we just threw them into our food processor. Use the pulse setting, don't use the high or the low because it can blend it up too much and you'll just get a bunch of little bits. We like ours chopped, and we did it in 2 batches so that it would chop evenly. And we just stored them in these mason jars. These keep them nicely sealed so there's no air getting in there. Next, we did walnuts. We did the exact same thing. Throw them in the food processor, pulse it a few times, and then again, do it in 2 batches so that they're chopped more evenly. And then again, put it into a mason jar, make sure it's tightly sealed in a container. Primarily, we like to use these for our oats in the morning. They just give that really addicting crunch to your oatmeal. I'm obsessed with nuts. I think walnuts are probably my favorite. They're really nice to snack on throughout the day as well. But yeah, it's just nice to get these for our daily healthy fats intake. It makes it so easy having it in these containers. So moving on, another thing that we like to add into our oats are flax seeds and pumpkin seeds, and these we store in the jar as well. So we get our flax seeds from Costco. They come in this big bag, and it does actually save time to transfer it from a bag into a jar and just have a spoon in there. It's a lot less messy because these flax seeds can get everywhere when you're using the bag. This just makes it really easy, and you can store it in the fridge because it does recommend to store it in the fridge. So that's what we do. We also like to add these in our smoothies. And flax seeds, if you don't know, they're a good source of omega-3s, which for plant-based is a little harder to get because you primarily find it in fish, which we don't consume. So flax seeds are a good source of omega-3s. The next thing we prep is sea moss gel. I did explain this more thoroughly in my other video about how to prepare it, but we basically prep it in the mornings every 2 to 3 weeks. You can store it in a jar in your fridge for up to 2 weeks, and we like to put that in our oats. We like to put it in our smoothies. It doesn't really taste like anything. It's a great source of nutrients, which I've also mentioned in my previous video. I'll leave a link in the description below, or I'll leave it up. Next, we have some vegetables. In terms of our vegetables, I know we have zucchini here, but it's kind of just a prop. But we like to have kale, celery, and carrots on a regular basis. They're just our go-to vegetables. We used to have broccoli, but we're not having it so much anymore. But kale, it is nice to prep it. You can buy them chopped and frozen and ready to steam or cook at the grocery store, but sometimes we like to have it fresh. Because of all the curves and the curls, a lot of stuff can get in there. So we give it a thorough rinse and then we chop it up. I like to cut the curly bits off of the stem and then I cut the stem as well. I don't let it go to waste because you can definitely still eat it. The stem is pretty hard though. I like to steam it or saute it. It goes with any meal really, your soups, rice, literally anything. Then I like to store it in these Superstore kale bags, which we had bought previously, and I just keep them in the freezer. They don't last in the freezer because we go through kale so fast. Kale is like a superfood. It's really good for you. It is recommended that you get at least 2 cups of leafy greens a day. So on to carrots. Carrots are so annoying to peel when you're cooking, so this is a process I recommend the most probably if you don't like peeling, which I really don't like peeling. So we peel the carrots and I just like to cut them into thirds or quarters and then I cut them in half. I just store them in a jar, fill it up with filtered water, again seal it, just pop it in the fridge, and this lasts so long. These I like to add into the kale if I'm sauteing or steaming, or to other dishes, soups or curries. I also like to add them into my smoothies just to get some vegetables in the morning. And yeah, just having them all cut up and ready in the jar just makes it super accessible. Same thing for celery. I like to cut off all the ends and then I like to take my knife to the end of the celery and just kind of dig it a little and peel the strings back. I can't remember where I heard this from, but apparently the strings from celery are really hard for your stomach to digest. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I've just been doing that ever since. And again, I like to cut it into thirds, store it into a jar, fill it up with filtered water, and seal it. And again, that stays for a while in the fridge as well. I find that when they're in those like Ziploc bags that they come in, they go bad a lot faster. So this has definitely helped prolong my veggies. And celeries, again, I like to add it into my smoothies as well, soups, literally everything. I use these vegetables for everything. And finally, we have ginger. I love having ginger. I cook with ginger all the time, and I especially love having ginger for tea. Ginger tea is really good for inflammation. I find the next day it's so much easier to breathe. Everything just feels more open. I don't even know how to describe it. It just makes you feel really good. So it's just raw ginger. I take the ginger root and I peel it, which is a very tedious task, which is why this is, again, one of my favorite things to prep, because when I do have it in hand, I'm just thanking myself for doing all the prep. I cut it into chunks that are about the same size. I throw them into a blender and I either pulse or put it on medium, but I like to get like the little chunks in there. And then I like to put it in an ice cube tray and just throw it in the freezer, and it's ready to use anytime you use it. And I usually use 1 whole cube whenever I cook or make tea, and it makes cooking so much easier. You can just defrost it or even just throw it in and it'll melt pretty fast. So for this batch, I didn't have enough to make 2 trays, which is what I normally do, but I wanted to show you guys how I make it. So yeah, that's pretty much all my tips and tricks for now. I do have a couple more. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. If you have any tips or tricks on how to cook faster or just make meal prep easier, leave it down in the comments below. I would love to learn new tricks if you have any. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. I really enjoyed making this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!